Welcome to Business Builders Podcast. I'm Jerry Kezhaya, and my lovely co-host is the amazing Dr. Laura. Today, we're going to talk about the hard truth that there will always be mistakes. And how do you deal with them?
Curious what business owners are doing to double revenue, have more cash flow, work less hours, and provide a better lifestyle for their family? Dive into the world of business growth that leads to guaranteed wealth. Your hosts, Dr. Laura Shwaluk and Jerry Kezhaya. Grow and get answers to your business and investment questions that provide clarity, move you forward, and inspire you to reach your goals.
Hey, we have a special guest with us, David Allred, and he is the co-founder of Dry Farm Wines, and he's published a book recently called It's All the Same. So thank you for joining us today all the way from France. I know your time zone's a little different than ours, so we will keep this nice and tight for you so that you can go to sleep or dinner or whatever it is.
Happy to join you. I think we're 7 hours away, so it's 3:15 here. So, but it's not a hard compromise to make myself available for you guys. Thank you for having me.
You bet. So to begin with, just tell us a little about yourself, because you did not grow up in the winemaking industry. And so tell us a little about yourself, your career, and then tell us, how did you get started with Dry Farm Wines?
How did you do that, and why? I mean, I like wine, but dadgum, dude, I didn't start a wine company.
I've just been someone called me a serial co-founder. So grew up in North Carolina, went to school at Emory in Atlanta, stayed there for many years. My first job was in real estate. Then my second career was a staffing company. And then that staffing company morphed into a corporate travel agency. Then which was a crazy business, very lucrative. But that was in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. The internet was coming along, killing the travel business. 9/11 did a big bang on the travel business, of course. Then the .com crash became before the 9/11, really did a big issue. And so ended up moving into financial and tax planning services. And so I'm the entrepreneur that's like, I don't know how that works, but I'm going to try to do it anyway. And so, I've empowered many ideas as the co-founder to be my intent bracelet says empower. So, the value of an unexecuted idea isn't very much. The great Les Brown said, and as others have said, the most valuable real estate in the world is the cemetery, because that's where ideas and dreams that never came to fruition will die forever. So you'll never know what could have been. And so I'm all about making, let's swing it, take a swing at it and see what happens. I had a friend when I was in college. He was a few years older, and I knew he'd been through different businesses. And the one he was doing when I met him was just going gangbusters. And I said, how did you know this was the business that was the one that was going to make the most money? And he said, because it's the one that took. So my philosophy around business is, you have an idea, which is what's going to lead into their question about Dry Farm Wines. You have an idea, you have maybe a personal challenge you're trying to solve, and you think, if I'm having this issue, there might be 1, 2, or a million other people that have the same challenge. If I can solve it for me, I can solve it for them. So my friend Todd, we've known each other since 1992 from Atlanta days. He said, hey, I want to get into the wine business. I like to drink. I like my wine. I like the conviviality of it, the connection aspect of it. But I don't want to wake up with a headache or a hangover. I don't want to be, compromised by alcohol, which, alcohol is a toxin, but so is oxygen and water in the wrong dosage. So it's he wanted to get the dosage right, I guess. So was informed about low alcohol, low sugar wines in Europe, started researching how wine is truly supposed to be made, not industrially farmed in Sonoma or Lodi or Temecula or even Napa. And this is, grow grape, stomp grape, drink grape, bottle grape. So started buying wines from family farmers here in Europe. It's no more than 1 gram per liter sugar, no more than 12.5% alcohol by volume, and no more than 75 parts per million sulfites, and brought it to the US, did it as a wine club to people who are doing the ketogenic diet, the paleogenic diet, just basically low carb, organic, sugar-free, wild-caught salmon, really paying attention to what you put in your body, going to yoga, going to Pilates, and not feeling like you're canceling out your good behavior with, going through the McDonald's drive-through. So it just really resonated.
Could you repeat those numbers, those percentages to us, just in case people miss them? Yeah.
So the alcohol content on our wine is no more than 12.5%. If you look at a lot of California and even some European wines, they're at 14, 15, 16%, which from a metabolic standpoint is just more of it to process through. So if you're at 12.5 or less, then your body can process it out faster, cleaner. All of our wines are lab tested for purity such that there's less than 1 gram per liter of sugar in the bottle, which is statistically sugar-free. So it does not cause a glycemic response. So if you're type 2 diabetic, it will not have any impact on your blood glucose. You can take we've done it, you take a blood test, wait an hour, take it again, your reading's the same. And then finally, we also have low sulfites, so no more than 75 parts per million SO2, which sulfites get the bad rap because it's the only piece of nutritional labeling on a wine bottle in America. There's no nutritional labeling on beer, wine, spirits, anything, because the government doesn't want you to go to your wine store or grocery store and make a quote unquote healthy choice on alcohol. They want us, our nation founded by Puritans and just how it is. The government wants you to see alcohol as, this particular category of beverage, and you should not be able to choose the better version of it. It's all one alcohol. Manufacturers do not want to put that labeling because vodka, beer, other wines will have, chromium sulfate, a lot of red wines in the US use 2 coloring agents, mega purple and ultra red, to add color, which color has no taste. There's no flavor to it, but if you see a darker colored wine, the implication is it's richer, better for you. So, but we do have but sulfites gets blamed for everything for so much because it's the only thing it says on the label contains sulfites. Oh my! Well, a bag of potato chips or dried fruit has more sulfites than a bottle of wine. So, but we still have a lower limit for us. It makes it cleaner, fresher. People who drink our wine, their single biggest complaint to us is that we ruin them for all other wines. So once because if your palate is eating, 3 and 4 ingredient meals, not stuff that comes out of a box or super heavy, overly, processed foods, then your palate can appreciate a cleaner, more vibrant, more alive wine, and having lower sulfites achieves that. If you have a sulfite allergy, you've got an EpiPen in your pocket at all times because sulfites are everywhere. There's no not having it. So anyhow, but that was kind of how that came about. So I was actually moving my tax practice from Atlanta to California to work with Todd and join up and do this company. And then we've marketed always in the health and wellness space. And turns out we started in 2015 and it's just been, a rocket ship ever since. So it was something people were clamoring for. People, and I've said, 95% of our job is education. As Jerry says, he's been, proselytizing sulfites for 25 years. That's not the issue. Most people think it's Lucy and Ethel Outback stomping grapes. And it's really, about profit and consistency of flavor. Because if you're in the airport at Dallas Fort Worth and you see a brand of wine, you want it to taste the same as if you're at a restaurant in Seattle. And the only way you can get that type of consistency is manipulation. Same reason a McDonald's Big Mac tastes the same in Berlin as it does in Birmingham. You have to manufacture that flavor. So, most wines you see on the shelf in the US don't have vintages because they're blends of different years to get them where they want to be. All of our wines have vintages. We have a 20, 21, 19, 18. Some years, some winemakers, we buy all their stock of their 21. By the time their 22 comes to bear, they might have too much sugar. They might have too much alcohol, or it may not taste, as good as what we're used to. And we don't buy the 22. We say, well, come back to us in 23. So that's And if you're running a big, publicly traded corporation, then you can't afford to have that type of inconsistency. You've got to know that it's coming every single time. So, but people today, authenticity is the new, currency of the realm. You can't fake it anymore. I mean, you can try for about 5 minutes, but then the internet's going to, figure it out, or, the Twitterverse or somebody's going to come along, and the public and the private is, for better or worse, is merging into one. So you have to be who you are. And you better hope that who you are is a good person providing a quality product or service. And that's what
Amen.
we're doing.
So let's talk
Amen.
about your business for a moment. Can you tell us how many employees do you have? And what are some of the biggest hurdles that we'll talk about some mistakes in a moment, but what are some of the hurdles that you have regarding shipping the wine or whatever? I'm guessing that might be a
Well,
hurdle,
the biggest hurdle on that one is shipping, because when the 21st Amendment was passed, which repealed the Prohibition Act, it gave states rights that, frankly, allow them to violate the Commerce Clause of the Constitution. So, if you have an air filter if you can sell an air filter for a car through your business, I can also go to Amazon and buy that same air filter, and they can ship it to me in 2 days. And nothing you can do about it. You would love it if if you didn't have to compete with Amazon or any other online retailer for products that you sell in the store, you warehouse, source, etc. Well, when it comes to alcohol, the states are able to say, oh, no, we don't want, certain people to be able to ship certain wine to certain states because, it's harmful to the kids, it's harmful to sales tax, it's harmful to this. And it's really honestly just, the local merchants not wanting competition. We're not the only ones in this. I mean, winemakers in Napa, there's been some laws that have helped some smaller winemakers get through it, but it's really just the restrictions on that, I think, has been a challenge. Today's environment is, it's labor's always tough. People are wanting, we pay a very, very, very well and treat our people very, very well. We have lots of corporate trips, family parties, things like that. So
how many employees do you have?
Actually, I don't know at the moment. But we consolidated our operations into Dallas, so that we can ship we were all in California at one point, so now we can ship, east, west, north, south from there. But really the other challenge is education. I mean, people don't know what they don't know. There's what you know, what you don't know, what you don't know, you don't know. And my favorite one, which is attributed to Mark Twain, is then there's the things you know for sure that just ain't so. And
Exactly. That's the one I was going with next. It was great. That's great. Yeah.
and
How
so
many people will argue with you with facts that they've made up or they heard somewhere that have no basis in reality whatsoever? It's like, dude, just calm down, will you? Let me show you something.
Yeah.
yeah,
Don't argue with the facts. My mind is already made up. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
well, what my father likes to say is, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Um,
Jerry says that too.
what
I say
was the
never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
There's what's the movie story of Bagger Vance, and at the end of the line he goes, well, the story is more interesting than the truth, and the reporter goes, well, if the story is more interesting than the truth, print the story, or whatever it is. But no, it's, and now, the internet, everybody is a level 1 immunologist, virologist. My mother told me that my cousin did so and so, and therefore that. So, but you get people with an open mind and they want to know, and they get it. So, so I would just say what the education part from Dry Farm Wine's perspective is, people don't know what they don't know. They don't know about the sugars. They don't know about the chemicals. They don't know about the process, and they don't know there's an option, because it's really the retail landscape is not set up to give. There's the perception of choice when you go to the grocery store, the wine market, and you see, 100 different wine labels. What people don't know is about 60 of those wine labels are owned by 3 companies.
Mhm.
So it's the perception of choice in that regard.
Before I forget, share with everyone the best way to find your wine. Is it just Dry Farm
There's
Wines?
only one. It's not the best way. It's the only way.
The only way,
And that's
okay.
and that's on the interwebs. It's dryfarmwines.com.
Okay.
Dryfarmwines.com. And
Thank you.
and you can go from there and pick which varietals, which colors you want, red, white, rosé, sparkling, and then we have some single time purchases. We have some special offers for club members. It's free to join, cancel anytime. So, but if anybody's on the Instagram or Facebook, we chase you around over there pretty well. We've had quite a few celebrity endorsements. Halle Berry, a bunch of the girls from The Office, Kristen Cavanelli. And then there's people who have heard about, didn't even know we existed, and someone talked about us. So it's quite humbling and honoring to go into a situation in a room, in a restaurant, or a party, and they say, who are you? What do you do? And you tell them, like, I know who you are. It's like, wow. Early on, my license, when I was living in California, my license plate said Dry Farm, and I was at the gas station, and this woman looked over at my car and she said, Dry Farm, that's not Dry Farm Wines, is it? And I mean, you could have knocked me over with a feather. I was just so, it's like, how did you know? How would you connect? Because dry farming is a thing. You can dry farm tomatoes, you can dry farm potatoes, apples, all kinds of stuff. But I don't know how she connect. Maybe because it was in the Sonoma, I was up in Sonoma area, that she kind of thought maybe she connected it. But she was a subscriber, and no, she wasn't a subscriber. She had seen our ads, and thought about it, and so I got her address and sent her some. So hopefully she's still a member.
That's awesome.
I hope so too. You were talking earlier about people have in their mind that it's Lucy and Ethel stomping on grapes, right?
Mhm.
The reality of it is so radically different in most of the and I'm going to just call it the industrial wine processing. I will say that the
That's correct.
small, coming from a very passionate wine background myself, I have been very passionate about wine for the last 25 years, to the point where I went and learned how to blend wine and actually produce it. And I was shocked to learn some of the things that they actually put in wine during the blending process that people have no clue, right? Like they use eggs to clarify. Sometimes they don't have new oak barrels, so the industrial companies will put oak sawdust in with the wine to give it the oaky flavor. I mean, it's unbelievable what goes into industrial wines. Industrial, I got to say industrial, right?
That's
Because
correct. That's correct.
it's the term that I certainly use. But when you go to when I go to Napa Valley, when I go to Sonoma, and I go to the family vineyards, the people that are making, a couple hundred cases of wine a year, or
Right.
certainly 500 cases of wine a year, they're not playing those shenanigans, and it costs a hell of a lot more in California because it's coming from Napa, right?
Right.
Napa's responsible for only 4% of the grapes in California, but they're responsible for like 90% of the wine money sales of all of
Right.
California. It's so disproportionate, and it's just the name Napa, but it started from marketing. It was a beautiful marketing process. It started by Mondavi, and his comment was, if one rises, we all rise. And
Right.
they were able to stick that together. That was beautiful.
And Jerry is also so passionate. He is a level 2 sommelier. So there's only 4 levels plus master, and Jerry is at level 2. That's his best hobby.
No, it's no one knows when wine was invented because it's a natural process. That somebody left a bunch of grapes in a clay urn, and they broke open and fermented, and somebody drank it and goes, this ain't bad.
Right.
And refined it from there. So, again, it's the American philosophy is, what's your FICO score? What's your GPA? What's the Yelp rating, the Google review, and then wine is the Parker score from Robert Parker. And it's just like, Americans want somebody else to tell them how good something else is. Is it a Michelin 1-star restaurant? Again, what's your ratings, and what other kind of data points can we use that somebody else has told me is good? So, because wine is intimidating for a lot of people. They're afraid of making a bad purchase. It's not a $2 Coke, so it's, always a little bit more. And you don't want to show up and look like you don't know what you're talking about. And here in France, there's stuff everywhere. People are selling it for €8 a bottle. It's great. It's fantastic. So it's like, again, it's just an education process, helping people who want to and for us, it really is about the connection. It's like being able to sit down. Like if I was in the same room with the two of you guys and it's, 5 o'clock and we've got some cheese and crackers and almonds and some, whatever, and you have a couple glasses of wine, you're a little relaxed, the guard is down and you can really connect and have a meaning, perhaps have a more meaningful conversation with the walls down just a tad than you would just sitting there having, a back and forth. So that's really, and, my book and my philosophy is, again, it's about people, it's about the things, it's about making sure that almost every single longevity study, whether they're talking about blue zone diets with Mediterranean and olive oil and this, that, and the other, the one single through line is social connection and having having a church, having a community, having family, having Friday night neighbor potluck supper on the courtyard and the end of the cul-de-sac. It's the social connection that's what drives people to live longer. So, and if we can help with that, all the better.
Well, there's some folks out there that say they want to live to, I want to be 150, I want to be 130, I want to be 100. And I go, okay, so tell me about the wines you drink. Oh, I don't drink wine. Well, tell me about the amazing meals. Oh, no, I protein this. I'm like, dude, why would you want to live that long if you're not enjoying life? I mean, come on. Let's have good wine, good food, good conversations. Let's make the best of it while we're here. And if you can do that with Dry Creek wine, God bless you. Let's make it happen.
Dry farm wines, yes, but it's sorry.
Dry farm.
Yeah.
Sorry, if you can do that with Dry Farm wines, God bless you. We'll edit that and fix that, okay?
But why live longer just to be miserable? But my question is, how are you going to pay for it? I mean, most people plan a retirement, 60, 70, and they figure they can live off about 20 years of built up investment. And you're going to live another 100? Are you going to work to 100? I think there's some follow-on effects people haven't quite considered when they say they want to live to be, listen, we're deep in the biohacking space and all the guys and women that are talking about, extending your mitochondria and glutathione, and I have an infrared sauna for detox and cold plunge to keep the cells going and the protein folding. I don't know. I was a liberal arts, so people ask me about college and they say, did you study for business? And I said, no, I had something called a liberal studies degree, so I had a humanities. I know a little bit about a lot, and so I'm very good at cocktail parties. But it's like, at some point, these people just want to go on and on and on and on forever doing all these different things. And it's I don't know if they're, Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. Somebody said, is he going because he wants to discover uncharted territory? Or is he going there because he thinks if he accomplishes something that great, his dad will finally hug him and say he loves them? So, I don't know what exactly the motivation is for living 180 years. I think if you have a high quality of life and you've got good friends, now if not all of your friends want to live to 180, you have to be good at making new friends because you're going to outlive them all. But I would ask people why, is it, I've seen two quotes now. It's probably the same quote, but making it the rounds. They said this guy was like 40 years old, and he said, if you asked yourself 30 years from now, would you trade all the things you've accomplished, all the money you've made, just to feel as good as you do at this age? Would you trade it? And it almost was like, of course, yes. I would, because at 70 or 80, the bones, unless you've been doing all this stuff, don't run the same way. And it's like the health is wealth, I believe. Because if you don't feel good, nothing else matters. The healthy man has 1,000 wishes. The sick man only has one. So I don't know. God bless them. I hope they figure it out. I just hope they figure out how to feel good right here and now. And sometimes a glass of wine helps you feel good. I don't know.
Yeah. I've also found that when I'm drinking, since I have been enjoying red wine and white wine, mostly red wine, my cholesterol has dropped significantly. There's a chemical in the wine, specifically red wine. I call it reverse it all, but it seems to help in most things. But you're talking about living old age. I'm going to tell a story on my wife, who I love and adore. And this is not really a story about her, other than it's a conversation she had with her grandfather. And her grandfather lived to be 99 and a half years old. And I think the time was Laura went to see him at his 99th birthday. And she was there with him, and they had a quiet moment, and he was quite candid with her. And she says, how are you doing? And he was quite candid. And he said, I'm really not having a good time. I don't see so good. I don't hear so good. My taste buds don't work too much anymore. My wife's been dead for I don't remember how many years. He knew. He said, all my friends are dead. I'm really lonely. He was 99 years old, and that was his aspect. And Laura, I mean, I think I think I represented that accurately.
Yeah, he said this is supposed to be the golden years, but honestly, there's really nothing very golden about this.
Yeah. And like you said, David, either you have a lot of friends around you, or you learn to make new friends, because if you're going to be 150 years old, in Laura's grandfather's case, his wife had passed and all of his friends were gone as well. So I think that, there's a whole lot of questions that need to be answered, if you're going to do the longevity thing.
We started this episode, Jerry said, the hard truth is that we all make mistakes, and we do all make mistakes. So my next question for you, David, is what are like the 3 top biggest mistakes you've made, either with dry farm wines or something that in your career? Because we can always learn from other people's mistakes.
The one thing that I think, which transcends, business and personal, is, making a mistake with a relationship, because a personal relationship, whether that's a partner, spouse, or even just a very, very close friend. If, your environment, the environment makes all the difference in the world. And the mistake I've made is in situations where someone in one of those categories was not conducive to a healthy, positive relationship, keeping that going too long. And I'm a very, very, very loyal person. I'm like, if I'm here, I'm here. But sometimes I had a situation where I'd been, best friends with someone for 9 years, talked on the phone 3 times a day. And there was a debate and a falling out, and I had a lot going. I was transitioning my company at the time from the staffing to the travel business. So we staffed travel agencies. And so when they didn't need us, we just became one of them. So it was a very interesting time, and a lot of fringe benefits, a lot of free cheap plane tickets and discounted hotels, et cetera. So it was, but anyhow, I had a lot of moving parts, having to release employees on one side, bring employees on another side. And I said, I just can't deal with this. And he ended up not talking to me for like a month. And I woke up one day lighter. I was like, oh my gosh, this person who I thought was a friend had just been kind of dripping toxin into me every single day, because they were just a toxic person. But I didn't know that, because as they say, you can't see the picture when you're inside the frame. And they spoke negatively of other people. And I didn't realize, I was young, I was in my 20s. I didn't realize that people who speak negatively of other people will one day speak negatively of you. So, which they did, which is fine. I didn't care. But then just that negativity. So probably the biggest mistake, and it can sound harsh. And I know there are people out there that have severed familial relationships, parental relationships, sibling relationships, and had a lot of, drama and trauma and sadness and stuff around it. But really, and it's not a question of, is this person serving you? I mean, that's not what it's about. It's not like, oh, well, they weren't getting me free tickets to concerts anymore, so I'm not your friend anymore. That's a transactional. That's not a true friendship. That's just, using and stuff. But probably the single biggest mistake is keeping people. I had an occasion in college where, unfortunately for me, this person made it very clear, and I was like, "Oop, we are done." But I'm not one. I'm really not one to close a gate. I'm like, well, there's a good and a bad in everybody. So and so. I was like, So probably the number one biggest mistake is keeping relationships, partners, whatever, in the mix when they're just not. It's not a true friendship, not a true bilateral relationship. Business, trying to think about business. Nothing specifically pops to mind other than just do everything sooner than you thought you should.
Mm.
We were with Dry Farm, we were building the website, and Todd is very design focused, brilliant. I mean, everybody looks at our website and just says, "Oh my gosh, this website's gorgeous, it's beautiful." And so we're building it, and we're an e-commerce company, and I said, "We've got to turn this thing on at some point." And luckily, we had a conference we were applying to participate in, and we had to show them something. And my joke is, if we hadn't had that conference, Todd would still be trying to make the website perfect. So sometimes perfect can be enemy of the good. Dan Sullivan says, get it to 80%. Chances are that'll be good enough. And if you need to tweak it again, do another 80%, that gets you to 96%. And I'm not saying mediocrity is where it's at. I mean, but people like Bo Easton, they're driving right to the top. There's nothing wrong with that. Start sooner than you think you should. I mean, in the software industry, in the tech world, they said, if you wait for it to be perfect, you're too late. Somebody else is already, it might be buggy or what have you. I'm trying to think of like a third personal mistake. Maybe third personal mistake is thinking that third martini is a good idea. I think two more. I think I do go off script sometimes and enjoy a good gin martini. And probably that 2 is fine. 3 might be too much.
That's the Jerry
Gin
enjoys the
martini,
gin
bravo!
martini too. Yeah, I like the gin and tonic. And that's a
Right.
little too much alcohol for me.
Well,
Gotta have some tonic.
the first one that can be really good, and it's like I should have a second. And I think generally you should stop at the second, but that's just me.
All right, so tell us about your book. I see that in the background there. Their book
Oh, yes,
it's all the same. Tell us about that.
Well, as you've probably figured out, I'm a big devotee of education and learning and growing and
Say that underneath. It's all the same, and then it says your
stop looking for the secret and be your own guru.
thank you.
So, it's kind of a riff on the Tony Robbins documentary, I'm Not Your Guru. So Tony Robbins, who I've been to a couple of his events, which was huge for me. I've done Date with Destiny twice, actually. I didn't really think I needed a second one because I feel like you should be paying attention the first time, but I did a follow-up about 6 years after the first one, 7 years. And it was really, the reason I like doing it the second time is to kind of reinforce some things. Like Zig Ziglar said, there's a criticism about doing positive thinking every day or something. And he said, it wears off. He said, well, so does bathing. That's why you do it every day. So you need to have some development in positive thinking every day, or some personal work. People pray every day. You exercise every day, brush your teeth every day. You meditate every day. Let's do a little bit for you every day in that regard. Again, whether it's meditation, prayer, or mantras, or manifestations, etc. So I would do those events. I went to personal therapy. I've done group therapy. I've done hypnosis. I've done, different retreats, looking for the one. Which one of these things is the answer? And I realized it's all the same because it's all about you. So I think we were saying earlier about knowledge and knowing and knowledge isn't power, but acting on knowledge is where the power comes from. An unexecuted idea is worth about 5 cents. So I didn't want it to be, it's all the same in a pejorative, oh, it's all the same. No, it's all the same because it's about you. So figure out whatever modality works best for you. Is it an ayahuasca journey in, Costa Rica? Is it a 7-day silent meditation retreat in, India? Is it Buddha? Is it Christianity? Is it whatever? You at some point have to do it, and it's about you, and you can do it. And the Tin Man always had a heart. The lion always had courage. Or the Tin Man want the brain, something. And all the characters in the Wizard of Oz already had everything they needed. They just needed somebody to tell them they had it. And it's like, oh, I had this the whole time. So it's really just, I want to empower people to say, okay, I can, it can be done. Now, there's obviously things that might be holding you back. One of my favorite concepts of Tony Robbins, for example, is you're not your story. Yes, you may have been raised in this, this family situation or this economic environment that really does not lend itself to prosperity. Okay, great. That happened to you. Now, what are you going to do about it going forward? These, a lot of other, things that are negative to you. Yes, they happened. Be sad about it, be mad about it, but then what are you going to do about it? Kind of situation. So I just want to give people permission to realize that pick whichever modality you want, because they're all about you getting to where you want to be and where you need to be, what you can do. And they say you teach what you need to learn, because I kept trying to figure out, well, what's Jerry's program? What can I, does Jerry have a class I can take? And my thing, when the publisher was doing this book, they said, oh my gosh, we can build a whole course around it. And I said, no. My whole point is you don't need another course. There's plenty of courses out there that are great. Read a Brene Brown book about shame. And maybe there's a lot of shame in your family and your history and growing up. Read her books, take her class, watch her talks, which are amazing, and then go act upon that. And that's all. So that's what one of the taglines that the publishers came up with was, this could be the last book you ever need to read on personal development. So, and I have a lot of anecdotes in there about, things that I've done and advocated for myself. One of my favorite stories is getting braces. I know we have to wrap up here, so I'm going to be quick. I switched from one school, elementary school, to a different public middle school, different people completely. And as these big teeth were coming in as a little kid, these two were coming in, all wonky. And so my parents knew I needed braces at some point. And I said, yes, and we're going to get them before I start a new school, because kids can be mean. I don't want to be the new guy with the, something to make fun of. And my parents, bless them, they're procrastinators. I get procrastination, honestly, inherited from both sides. And they would have done it, but I just said, no. If unless you want to get a warrant for truancy because your son didn't show up for school, we're going to McDonald's. And sure enough, the day before school started, I got the braces put on. And as a result of doing this book and thinking about life, I was 12 years old at the time, but I had a photo, a little artistic thing made off Etsy of this, kind of colorful lips with braces on it, just the mouth of braces. And I have it over the door of my office so I can look up at it and just remember to advocate for myself and know that if I'm not going to do it, it ain't going to happen. No one's coming for you. It's good to have a support network. It's good to have friends. It's good to have employees, colleagues, contractors. Nobody does it alone. I'm not trying to say that. We have, there's 1,000 UPS workers I'll never meet that help get our boxes from A to B. But I'm just saying, to get it going, you have to advocate for yourself. And so that's one of the stories in the book that I really, really like.
And where do we get your book? Where do we find it?
It's at 110,000 retailers. So it's at Amazon.com, like every book on planet Earth. It's at Barnes and Noble. It's at Books A Million. And I have a website. It's allthesame.com that can link you to either directly to the publisher site or the Amazon site. Most people get their books on Amazon because you've got the Prime and the free shipping.
Yeah.
But anywhere you buy a book, there it is.
Excellent. Thank you.
Excellent.
And so now I have a question for everyone that's listening to the podcast. It's actually two questions. One is, what did you learn from today's podcast? And the second question is, what are you going to do differently? What action are you going to do differently? Or what action are you going to take that will make your life even better from listening to the podcast? David, are there any other words of wisdom that you'd like to share before we wrap this up?
Well, my father's got a lot of good, got a lot of wisdom. And when somebody goes to toast wine, and since we are in France, I do have a glass of wine here.
Yes.
His favorite toast is to say, "Here's to sunny days and starry nights." So that's my I'm borrowing from my father's words of wisdom.
That's awesome.
I like those. Can I borrow them?
I've borrowed many, so you feel free to borrow from me.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Let me know when you're back in Dallas. We'll have lunch or dinner or something and hang out and see what's going on.
I'd love to come see the ranch. It sounds awesome.
That would be great.
We'd love for you to join us.
Grow and get answers to your business and investment questions that provide clarity, move you forward, and inspire you to reach your goals. Share the show and connect with us at BBMMUSA.com to submit questions and learn more. That's BBMMUSA.com.